Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Hope and I'm the Curator of Education at the Museum Center at 5 Points. And during this time that we're all spending at home, I'm going to be recommending some books for you guys. So I am not in the museum right now. We cannot go there. I'm at my house, so I'm really sorry about the bad lighting. I do not have studio lighting in my house or really anything. But this week I have been looking for and then reading some new books to recommend to you guys. And this week I wanted it to be a little bit more fun. So I have 3 new recommendations for you, and they're a little bit different than last week's, but they're still fun. I still think that they'll be good books to read. I did enjoy them. So the first book that I have is going to be called Cleopatra, Queen of the Nile. It's by Christina Gregory. It's part of a series called The Royal Diaries, which Scholastic put out as a companion to the Dear America books. So I don't know if you guys have ever read those, but they're pretty good. They talk about different periods of time. So this particular series deals with like royalty, but they're younger. So this is before they're like queens or anything else. So this is Cleopatra. She is like 12 or 13 in the books. It's a really tumultuous time in Egypt, and she ends up traveling to Rome, and while she's in Rome she meets these characters that are going to be important to her later. She meets people like Caesar and Mark Antony, and they just, you know, deal with her as like a child, and later they come into play. But all of these books have a kind of epilogue at the end that tells you the story of like what happens to them after the book, and then they also have a historical note that talks about different characters that are mentioned in the books and what the time period was like. It has like pictures of artifacts and everything, so you get kind of a little bit of fun history, and then you also get like the real history of the time period. And then for a teen book, I went a little bit different. So the book that I read this week is called The Lux. It's by Anna Godberson, and it is different. It's kind of like Gossip Girl meets 1899, and that might not be what you guys are thinking that I'm going to recommend, but I really enjoyed this one. It tells like a lot of different people's viewpoints, and even though it's kind of soapy in context, I guess, like there's a little bit of stuff that's, you know, you're kind of like, I'm not really sure that this is what I'm looking for, but stick with it. It's a good book, and it tells you about how different types of people lived in, you know, 1899. You get a lot of the social structure, a lot of like the rules that were put in place on like even the very wealthy all the way down to like servants and everything, and you kind of get a feel for different parts of that. At the beginning of every chapter there's like little quotes taken from like books about like how to be a good like woman, or like how to run a household, and it's just kind of interesting, especially if you read it kind of with the story itself. And that one does have a little bit of romance, but it's not like graphic romance or anything, so there's nothing really bad in it. But like I said, it's a little bit different, but it's still like a fun way to learn about history that I kind of think we overlook sometimes, because there was a lot going on then, especially in America and there in Manhattan. And then the book that I have for adults is a little bit different as well. This is a kind of biography, autobiography sort of situation. I actually have this book here with me right now. So this is called Wonderful Tonight. It's the autobiography of Patty Boyd. So Patty Boyd was a British model. She's still alive, but she was a British model, and she dated and married both George Harrison and Eric Clapton. So she's kind of an important figure in like music history. So if you like books about that, if you like books about, you know, musicians from the 60s, if you like books about what it was like to be married to them or to live with them or what was actually going on at that time, this is a really interesting book. It's got a lot of anecdotes from her personal life, from like how she met these people to like how she dealt with their fame, how she dealt with her own fame, just a lot of different things. But it's a pretty interesting book. I have a couple of books that are similar to this about like the people kind of behind the scenes of musicians back then. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll recommend a couple more. I also am a huge fan of music biographies, so I have a ton of those. If you're interested in those, like let me know and I can recommend so many more to you. So those are the 3 books that I have this week, and if there's anything that you guys are interested in hearing about, anything that you want me to read, just let me know. I'll track it down, I'll read it, I'll talk about it on here. I'm trying to make this like widely interesting, like more interesting than just like read this one particular book, but I'm trying to give you guys a couple of different genres and a couple of different ideas. So if it's something that you're interested in, or if it's something that you've been curious about and you don't particularly want to read it, just let me know and I'll give it a go as well. But thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next week.